Q7228-3. Hazardous attitudes occur to every pilot to some degree at some time. What are some of these hazardous attitudes? A. Anti-authority, impulsivity, macho, resignation, and invulnerability. B. Poor situational awareness, snap judgments, and lack of a decision-making process. C. Poor risk management and lack of stress management. The correct answer is A. Anti-authority. This attitude involves a tendency to disregard rules, regulations, or instructions from authority figures. Pilots with an anti-authority attitude may question or resist following established guidelines, which can compromise safety. Impulsivity. Impulsivity refers to the tendency to act without careful thought or consideration of the potential consequences. Pilots with an impulsive attitude may make hasty decisions without thoroughly evaluating the situation or weighing the risks involved. Macho. The macho attitude involves a desire to prove oneself, take unnecessary risks, or display overconfidence. Pilots with a macho attitude may engage in reckless behavior or make decisions based on ego rather than sound judgment. Resignation. Resignation involves a passive acceptance of negative circumstances without taking proactive steps to address or improve the situation. Pilots with a resignation attitude may feel powerless or overwhelmed by challenging situations, leading to a lack of motivation to make the necessary decisions or take appropriate actions. Invulnerability. The invulnerability attitude is a false belief that accidents or negative outcomes will not happen to oneself. Pilots with an invulnerability attitude may underestimate risks and fail to take adequate precautions or consider potential hazards. Recognizing these hazardous attitudes is the first step in addressing them. By being aware of their existence and actively working to counteract their influence through training, self-reflection, and a commitment to safety, pilots can make better informed decisions and promote a culture of safety in aviation. 7228-4. In the Aeronautical Decision Making (ADM) process, what is the first step in neutralizing a hazardous attitude? A. Recognizing hazardous thoughts. B. Recognizing the invulnerability of the situation. C. Making a rational judgment. Hazardous attitudes which contribute to poor pilot judgment can be effectively counteracted by redirecting that hazardous attitude so that appropriate action can be taken. The correct answer is A. Recognizing hazardous thoughts. The initial step in neutralizing a hazardous attitude is being able to identify and recognize when such thoughts are occurring. This involves developing self-awareness and being mindful of one's own thinking patterns during the decision-making process. By recognizing hazardous thoughts, pilots can become aware of any biases, tendencies, or negative thinking patterns that may be influencing their judgment. This awareness allows them to take corrective action and employ strategies to counteract the negative effects of these attitudes. Once pilots recognize the presence of a hazardous attitude, they can then apply appropriate antidotes or techniques to redirect their thinking and make more informed decisions. This may involve consciously challenging and reframing their thoughts, considering alternative perspectives, or seeking advice from others to gain a more objective viewpoint. By actively recognizing and addressing hazardous thoughts, pilots can mitigate the impact of hazardous attitudes on their decision-making process and promote safer flight operations. It is important to maintain a vigilant mindset throughout the ADM process and continually monitor one's thoughts and attitudes to ensure that they align with a safety-oriented approach. Recognizing hazardous thoughts is an essential first step in neutralizing and overcoming the influence of hazardous attitudes during decision-making. 7229-1. What should a pilot do when recognizing a thought as hazardous? A. Correct this hazardous thought by making a thorough risk assessment. B. Label the thought as hazardous and then correct that thought by stating the corresponding antidote. C. Avoid allowing this hazardous thought to develop. The correct answer is B. Labeling the thought as hazardous and applying the corresponding antidote. When a pilot identifies a thought as hazardous, it is important to acknowledge its potential negative impact on decision-making. By labeling the thought as hazardous, the pilot becomes aware of its potential bias or tendency that could compromise safety. After labeling the thought, the next step is to correct it by stating the corresponding antidote. Each hazardous attitude has a specific antidote that can help counteract its negative influence. By consciously stating the appropriate antidote, pilots can redirect their thinking towards a more safety-oriented mindset. By applying the corresponding antidote, pilots can effectively counteract the negative effects of hazardous thoughts and improve their decision-making process. It allows them to replace potentially risky or biased thinking with more rational and safety-focused perspectives. Labeling the thought as hazardous and correcting it by stating the corresponding antidote is the most appropriate and effective approach to take when recognizing a thought as hazardous. 7230-1. Success in reducing stress associated with a crisis in the cockpit begins with A. Eliminating the more serious life and cockpit stress issues. B. Knowing the exact cause of the stress. C. Assessing stress areas in one's personal life. The correct answer is C. Assessing stress areas in one's personal life. When facing a crisis in the cockpit, it is important to recognize that stress can originate not only from the immediate situation, but also from personal life factors that can impact a pilot's ability to handle stress effectively. By assessing stress areas in one's personal life, pilots can identify potential sources of stress that may contribute to their overall stress levels. This self-assessment involves reflecting on personal circumstances, relationships, workload, health, and other factors that can influence emotional and mental well-being. Recognizing and addressing personal stressors is crucial for effective stress management. By understanding the stress areas in one's personal life, pilots can take proactive steps to mitigate stress, improve their well-being, and enhance their ability to handle crises in the cockpit. By focusing on personal stress assessment as the initial step, pilots can develop strategies and seek support to manage stress effectively, both within and outside the cockpit. Therefore, option C, assessing stress areas in one's personal life, is the correct answer as it emphasizes the importance of self-awareness and recognizing personal stressors as the starting point for successfully reducing stress associated with a crisis in the cockpit. 7230-2. To help manage cockpit stress, a pilot should A. Think of life stress situations that are similar to those in flying. B. Try to relax and think rationally at the first sign of stress. C. Avoid situations that will degrade the ability to handle cockpit responsibilities. Good cockpit stress management begins with good life stress management. The correct answer is B. Trying to relax and think rationally at the first sign of stress. Stress can have a significant impact on a pilot's performance and decision-making abilities in the cockpit. Recognizing the initial signs of stress and taking immediate action to manage it is crucial for maintaining situational awareness and handling cockpit responsibilities effectively. By consciously trying to relax and think rationally when experiencing stress, pilots can mitigate the negative effects of stress on their cognitive functioning. This can involve employing various stress management techniques, such as deep breathing exercises, positive self-talk, visualization, or other relaxation methods that can help reduce stress levels and promote a calmer state of mind. By proactively managing stress and maintaining a composed and rational mindset, pilots can prevent stress from escalating and negatively affecting their performance during critical moments in flight. Therefore, option B, trying to relax and think rationally at the first sign of stress, is the correct answer. It emphasizes the importance of self-regulation and immediate action in managing cockpit stress to ensure optimal decision-making and performance.